once the opportunity arose for him to close the show, he did it in emphatic style.
Whatever he hits falls.
UMAR AHMED, IFL TV, MTK Global, joined by Dan Rafael. Just seems to be seeing you in all corners of the world.
A little back up.
Back up.
Not too close.
How are we? Good.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm excited. A lot of good fights coming up.
Definitely. In Las Vegas, normally a Canelo fight week, but Tyson Fury steals the show. Becomes Mexican for the week. Obviously, we know it's leading up to the Wilder rematch, so let's just talk about that. To be honest, Wilder's made some comments recently that he wants to fight the winner of Joshua Ruiz and give step-side money to Tyson. What do you make of his comments?
I mean, I can understand it. He wants to be undisputed, but I mean, unless there's something that I don't know or the other people that are involved don't know or whatever, supposedly, according to what they have said in the past, what the promoters say, is that they have signed contracts to do the fight next. So, I respect Deontay's viewpoints. It's his career, but if a deal's a deal, and I presume that the fight with him and Tyson Fury will go forward as long as Fury wins on Saturday and Deontay wins his fight against Ortiz in November. So I think it's idle talk right now.
Is that the fight you want to see, Wilder Fury, above anything else?
I mean in the heavyweight division. I mean, yeah, it's obviously it's a big fight. I'm very anxious and excited to see the rematch between Joshua and Ruiz. Certainly the winner of that fight against the winner of the rematch between Fury and Deontay would be tremendous. But if you listen to what folks say, they have a two-fight deal rather between Wilder and Fury, which means there could be a February fight and then another rematch that would theoretically, be the trilogy fight, or I guess not a tiebreaker because the first fight was a draw, but we're a long way from that.
What do you think about the rematch between Ruiz and Joshua landing in Saudi Arabia, Dan?
I was disappointed that it went there. I'll be honest about it. To me, you don't go to a place where they don't respect human rights. Saudi Arabia doesn't respect human rights. Whatever you want to say about, this is not against the people of Saudi Arabia. This is not against, how nice it might be there or anything like that. Is that it's just, to me, it's morally wrong. But again, I'm not the one doing the business. It's not my career. If Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, can make that kind of money, I guess, money doesn't rule me, but maybe it rules other people.
I guess the argument from people would be Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua and Ruiz's team they're not politicians, so they're just doing a fight there and then coming out the country.
But it's a heavyweight championship fight, and they have to take responsibility for the image making that they're going to bring to that location. That's just a reality because the world's going to be watching. That's all. And
in terms of the fight itself, Joshua, throughout the build-up, we heard get it to Cardiff. That's Joshua's best chance to go to bet the belts back. Do you think they're cashing out, Dan?
I don't use that term often. I think it's ridiculous, to be honest. Anthony Joshua is a heavyweight under 30 years old who, even if he loses the rematch, will have 2 losses to the same guy. It doesn't mean his career is over. I don't think suddenly every single boxing fan that's loved Joshua for the last several years is suddenly going to turn their back on him and never want to watch one of his fights or buy a ticket for his fight. So, I don't think that. I think they had a massive amount of money on the table to do the fight there. And Ruiz was a little bit reticent to come and fight in the UK, and they viewed it as the best option other than that. So that's the reason. But the cash out, I think, is absurd. This is not a 46-year-old fighter that with a big name that is maybe at the end of his career. This is a guy that's still in his prime, presumably.
Another fighter in heavyweight division, Jaron Miller. We've discussed him before. There's rumours floating about that he's signing with Top Rank.
That's been going on since Tyson Fury fought the fight earlier in June against Tom Schwartz. So, they're talking. If they sign him, it wouldn't be a surprise. It would probably be a co-promotion between him and his other promoters. And presumably that would mean he'd be an eventual opponent for Tyson Fury down the road. There'd be a lot of trash talk in that fight, obviously. But, there's other business for Fury to attend to. And I can't imagine that they would put Fury in the ring with Miller without him getting a comeback fight after what happened with the drug situation. I don't think you can have that kind of situation just walk into a big mega fight like that. I don't think that's appropriate, to be honest. They probably have to get him some kind of tune-up, I would think.
What are your feelings towards the fact that obviously we know what happened with Jaron Miller?
Well, Jaron Miller never was suspended by anybody other than the WBA, and that suspension carries no weight because he wasn't going to fight in it was only against a WBA fight. So no commission has stepped up and said you're sitting for a year. And I think that's disgraceful. He didn't just test positive for one drug that he said was an accident. This is 3 different substances in 4 different tests.
But the actual question was the fact that he's had that, failed the test, come out and said he's guilty.
No,
but then
he equivocated in his guilt. He didn't really say I'm guilty. He said, well, I didn't really fail that many tests. I wasn't, I didn't know this. He's never come clean and just put it all on the table. When did you take it? Who gave it to you? How long have you been using it? He hasn't answered hard questions.
No, I completely agree. That's not my question. The end of the question is, after all that, now he's going to on the verge of signing with the biggest promoters in the world. What do you think that sends out as a message?
It's business. Nobody should ever forget that. That's why they're going to Saudi Arabia. That's why somebody would. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that Gerald Miller shouldn't be allowed to at some point continue his career or sign with the big promoter. So I don't have a problem with that part of it. I just don't think there's been any significant punishment paid for what he did at this point. That's just my feeling. And again, his crime, so to speak, is far greater, in my opinion, than Canelo failing for a clenbuterol test, where his reason was something that's been accepted and has happened numerous times to other athletes. It wasn't, a thing where he said, this guy gave it to me and they can maybe prove that. This is clearly purposeful deception with the number of tests and the number of banned substances.
Just the last one before we close off, down at the 175-pound division. Big announcement today, Canelo-Kov. What do you make of the fight?
I think it's a huge mega fight. I love the fight. I mean, I know Canelo has wanted to fight the best fighters. He's doing so. You can say what you want, that Kovalev may not be what he was at his peak. I thought he should have gotten the victory against Andre Ward the first time around. So that's not that long ago. Yes, he is diminished from then, but he's still a dangerous fighter. He's still got good punching power. He's still much bigger. He still has a world title belt, and he's still the biggest name in the weight class. So if you're Canelo and you can't, or you don't want to have a third fight at the moment with Triple G, and you're willing to go up 2 weight classes, that's by far not even close to the biggest fight that they could possibly make in the sport right now, other than certain heavyweight fights. I mean, that's a really bona fide mega fight. Yeah, like I said, I favor Canelo, but not like that strongly. I mean, I do think he wins. I think they selected that opponent for a reason, but that's okay. Kovalev's bigger, he's strong, he's experienced, he's got a great track record. He's going to play the perfect villain when they try to promote this fight. I mean, to me, it's probably the biggest fight of this year, except maybe the rematch between AJ and Ruiz.
What did you make of Anthony Yarde's performance in Russia?
Listen, I give Anthony Yarde a lot of credit. He came in without a lot of experience, put up a good fight, didn't win, got knocked out, almost had Kovalev out in the 8th round. And, credit to him. I think that he probably learned a lot in that fight. I think even though he lost, it elevated his career. And if he can get a real training camp, spar, and maybe get a couple of fights that are a better level of opposition from what he had been fighting, but obviously not on the level of Kovalev, and work his way back up. He's still in his 20s. I think he's got a good future, and he's exciting. And he can talk, and that's good also.
Dan, Rafael, thank you very much for your time on IFL, and we'll see you somewhere else in the world very soon.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You got it.
Top man.
Once the opportunity arose for him to close the show, he did it in emphatic style.
Whatever he hits falls.